Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
Jacob Wild, too.
And Gabby.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves on the cusp of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, even courting a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. Tonight, we're talking the penultimate episode of WandaVision. Previously on, more specifically, these three are going to be talking about it. I'm just here, man of the controls. Don't mind me. Pretend like I'm not even here. What do you guys think of the episode?
Well, I thought it was a great payoff episode. Very much filled in some blanks of the MCU. We had some revelatory payoffs for sure for the show concept and things of that nature. And I love how we found a way to incorporate TV, because again, it seemed like the signal was cut at the end of the last episode, so we found a way to incorporate the TV element into the episode via reruns and DVD box sets. So thematically, it worked like gangbusters. And it's just amidst the whole we're in an MCU film at this point, these last two episodes. So I was really impressed by that. We built to Wanda, coming to grips, with who she is and what she's done. And my God, do you feel sorry for that poor Wanda Maximoff? I know I do.
Yeah, I have to feel the same way. It's I really like how basically it answered a lot of the questions, but it also raises a few new ones. And I do feel bad for Wanda, and of course, she's finally given her name.
Yes, very awesomely too. Not just oh yeah, Scarlet Witch, it's been the name all along, but no, it's the Scarlet Witch. Chaos magic, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, shock and awe, yeah. So Gabs, this is your first time joining us on the WandaVision discussion. So tell us, just overall, just kind of recap how you've been feeling up to this point, as well as this episode. So lead us through the odyssey of the Gabs journey.
Okay, so the beginning of the show, I'm not even gonna lie, the first few episodes, I was like, what is this? What is this? Why? What does this have to do with anything? I don't understand. And after a few episodes, I was like, oh, okay, wait, I get it now. Okay, this makes sense. But, it started sucking me into it. I'm like, okay, wait, hold on. What? And then what happened here? And I got into it. The thing that kind of started making it die for me just a little bit was the fact that they couldn't just let Wanda be the villain. They had to actually throw some random Salem 1700, witch in there to go, oh no, it was really me that kept screwing everything up. I'm like, what? Okay, hold up. Go back. So, overall, though, I think the show is well put together. It's definitely the first Marvel thing that I've watched that I was actually into and interested in. I actually was like, oh, okay, I could watch another episode of this. So that's my thoughts on it so far. It's a little vague. I apologize.
Yeah, well, we're in kind of the vague segment at the moment. Anyway, so we have of course our lovely commenters. Let's just kind of shout them out along, kind of a little roll call here. We got Donovan Martin. We got Honeybee. We got Luke talks about movies. We got am I missing anyone? And good old Claude Coringa. Claude! Packed house. The consensus of what we're getting here, very much enamored with the wonderful performance Elizabeth Olsen's been given all season. Definitely kind of getting up here in the big kind of backstory episode.
Hope she at least gets an Emmy or Golden Globe nomination for this show.
In a just world, but there have been Marvel shows before this that have not gotten that just treatment. But I don't know, maybe this could change things. I don't know. Maybe let's hope. Fingers crossed.
This is the first one with huge backing, so
yeah, first one with that Disney money, that sweet Disney money. Yeah. We got Claudie's asking the big questions here. We're going to get to that later, Claudie. But yes, Jacob, yes, go on.
And then at least anybody can get a nomination from this show. They deserve it. They all deserve it, honestly. Wanda, definitely definitely Olsen, Bettany, and Han.
Absolutely, great kind of trifecta going on there for sure. All right, so I guess just to kind of like we'll jump over here. I mean, by all means, folks in the comments, there's something you really just want us to kind of like go at instantly, just shout it out. We'll try to kind of direct it like so. But I mean, just for starter's sake, let's talk about it's Agatha Harkness. Of course, we had a very glorious. It was Agatha all along. Been messing up everything. Very Munstersy, very catchy.
Yeah, Lopez's strike again.
Yep. God bless the old Anderson Lopez couple. Couple little music elves, those guys. All right, so let's talk about the Agatha Harkness.
Almost everything they create is musical crack.
They do. Earworms of America.
Yes.
So let's talk the Agatha Harkness origin. So we learn about. So we go a little deeper. Agatha Harkness is like doing a little witchy poo kind of act on the heads that we saw in Age of Ultron. Get a little kind of mind entry stuff in which we see the origin of Agatha, just to kind of show, hey, we're both witches, man.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is pretty much like one of the first, if not the first time, like actually saw like decomposing corpses in the MCU.
Here's the thing. Sometimes we get really screwed up stuff in the MCU, but it kind of goes by like that, so it kind of slips under. Like, think about Ant-Man. We just we shrunk people without the suits on, which they just kind of fall into these goopy, inside-out puddles, and it's horrifying.
Yeah.
We decapitate people in the opening of Doctor Strange, so they kind of squeeze it in there. But yeah, I mean, the whole decomposing, soul-sucking corpse thing, that's probably a new one. I think you're right.
It's like at that point, it's like, are you doubting that this show is horror yet?
Yep. But again, we're kind of building that Doctor Strange horror movie, assuming it's still going to be that. Which I mean, getting Sam Raimi involved, it's got to be, right?
Yes. I mean, and that's gonna have Scarlet Witch too.
So overall, it just seems like we kind of start things off kind of those Salem Witch Trials Day, which is really hilarious, given that it's not so much we're going to burn the witches at the stake, but the witches are going to put their own on trial.
If you think about it, it's a literal witch trial.
Yeah. It's a trial of witches, man. Never so rarely do you see it. So basically, Agatha is kind of called out for betraying her coven by basically breaking kind of the witchy bylaws. And I think the purpose of this. Some people have called out. Well, why do we need this opening? She can just say in dialogue. We got away with this so many other times. We just have these really moving kind of monologues about the past and everything. That's true, but I think the purpose of this opening is to parallel and possibly foreshadow Wanda's ultimate fate. Because there's this moment in the opening, where of course Agatha kind of realized, oh my God, I'm so powerful. I can suck the life force out of these people very hauntingly. She has this haunting line to her mother. I can be good. And of course, her mother very much kind of shooting that down. No, you can't be good. So it's the overpowered girl pleading with her mother. So very much kind of Wanda versus a loved one, perhaps. We're setting the dominoes up for. I don't know. Little finale action, little fighty, little kind of let's shed the tears. I don't know.
Or who knows? Maybe Agatha's planning to steal Scarlet Witch's magic.
Which that shark commercial seems to intimate. I gotta tell you, I think we were all on the Mephisto train for a while, and I mean, I'm not saying that's completely off the table, but let me put it this way: if Mephisto's showing up, it'll be like a post-credit Thanos thing. Like instead, we're gonna have the actual red guy show up. We're gonna have Mephisto actually show up at the end and and revealing him during a mid-credit scene versus having him be the little fly who was buzzing around last episode, which we transformed that fly, but he did not transform into Mephisto, so it's probably not.
Well, he turned into a bird and got eaten by a bunny.
Yeah, so that's probably not. I would hope it's not Mephisto, otherwise it's more disappointing than the giant Galactus cloud, man.
But yeah, who knows? And people. It's the people point out the new parallels between the decomposing kid and what Agatha did to these people.
Oh, I didn't think about it. That's a good pull, Jacob. Yes, that's excellent. Because I was thinking about the whole the former part of that commercial. But yes, the decomposing does make more sense now.
It's initially people tied it to Infinity War and the being dusted away, but that actually makes a lot more sense now.
It does. And of course, there's a little kind of deep cut thing, perhaps. So the mother, her form of magic, and sometimes the backstory on the witch's coven, at least this kind of section of the witch's coven, during the Salem Witch days, there might be ties to Atlantis in the MCU, which basically be like a little bit of a Namor foreshadow, which we've kind of, people have speculated the next Black Panther movie might deal with Namor because the whole, like, shifting of the tectonic plates under Wakanda and all that sort of stuff. And basically the idea is the witches, I believe in the comics, or at least some form of the comics, they were in Atlantis and they kind of foretold that the place was going to sink. No one believed them, so they kind of got out of there and they survived because they were smart enough to say, "Hey, the place is going to sink. Let's get out of here." And when she tries to finish off Wanda, she has this little kind of headpiece, looks a little Atlantean. It's kind of a blink and you miss it sort of thing. But again, all this is speculatory, mind you. No direct answers. Could be like, "Oh, I thought I saw some," but no, maybe it was a little tongue-in-cheek reference. You never know. All right, also, Claudia here in the comments, he's saying, "I hope the final WandaVision episode is at least 60 minutes long." I do too, Claude. I do too.
I would be surprised if it wasn't. I mean, It feels like they've been working up to longer and longer episodes, especially now that we're at the end and, we have this big Salem Ho and all that, so...
Yeah. Luke talks about movies, points out Agatha's bunny is sus. I assume that means suspect. Of course, many people have theorized that's actually Agatha Harkness's son turned into a bunny. With, of course, that big transformation of it turning the fly into a bird and everything. That might be like a little kind of. Of course, the bunny eats the fly. Ergo, perhaps her son has been transformed to the bunny for the last episode.
That's just the I was eating when I was watching the fly cross over Agatha over Wanda's face. I'm like, and then like the whole decomposing witches, then the fly crawling over her face, and the bunny's like, they don't really want us to eat while watching this, do they?
Not exactly a dinner theater show. The first episode, maybe, with the lobsters and everything, the breakfast, but not this one.
Actually, Jacob, I was eating when I was watching the last one, too. So, yeah, and I think I remembered I was eating, and then all of a sudden the bird went to the bunny, and I'm like, ooh, okay, never mind. Not good anymore.
Funnily enough, I was eating chicken.
I was not.
So Donovan, he says, "Who is," very, very demandingly so we got to answer this. Who is Ralph and the aerospace engineer? Good questions. I think we're all pulling for the aerospace engineer to be Reed Richards. I know I am. Apparently, we haven't seen that person yet. It's been pretty much confirmed, all over the place. That, like, don't get scared, folks. That lady, that random lady, military lady, seemed like she might have been the engineer. Not the case.
Maybe setting up the Fantastic Four.
Yep, which would be great. And again, the whole sword of it all, I never thought, sword deals with space and everything, apparently, according to this show, which is like, that'd be a perfect in for the Fantastic Four. Why not?
I mean, you can introduce Reed Richards before he became Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's a way to go, too. Absolutely, yeah. So he's also, in regards to who is Ralph, I mean, again, I was really leaning towards Mephisto, which, I mean, again, it's not entirely off the table, but again, I think seeing Mephisto in the finale might be kind of like pushed, again, condensed downward. But if it's not Mephisto, I think Ralph is probably going to be, kind of a Tom King WandaVision forward. It's going to be like, it's going to be either the Grim Reaper, which, given that there's one episode left, I'm thinking may not be the case, but if it's going to be one person, it's probably going to be Wonder Man, so they can do some stuff with that later. Wonder Man, the Simon Williams Wonder Man character.
Or it could just be like the classic unseen sitcom husband.
That's a good point, too. Sure. I mean, that's probably the better. Yeah, who is Ralph, man? That's good. Yeah. But I mean, a part of me is just wondering if he's maybe intimating the whole who is this witness. Again, people have been theorizing Ralph is the guy in witness protection. That the person Jimmy Woo is looking for someone in this town. We don't know who. So the way that goes is either one of the neighbors is someone big, which no, that wouldn't be the case because we saw they put them on a bulletin board. It can't be any of those guys. So Jimmy Woo is still looking for someone important in that town. So that's all, like the big hanging chad we have. We got to answer in the last episode. Otherwise, it's going to be a really massive hanging chad.
Who is Ralph?
Yeah, who is Ralph?
It'd be like one of the biggest mysteries of our time. Who is Ralph?
Jackie Gleason. That's Ralph. Moving on. Okay.
One of these days, Agatha.
One of these days, I'm going to throw that brooch right at him. But seriously, Catherine Hahn, though, so fun, so overconfident in her kind of like head witch in charge kind of like attitude throughout the episode. I loved, she's... again, she's just kind of so merry in how she's kind of getting into the. Basically, she's the voice of the audience, but with holding all the power at this point. Like, I want to know what's happening here. We're gonna go back to the beginning and figure out how this. Are you a mutant or are you not a mutant? Is this happening? Is that happening? How the heck did you do this telling? Who's the bad guy here? So, very much, very much seems that's kind of. Yeah.
And this kind of at least confirms that that she's had latent powers for at least since childhood.
Yeah. So I guess basically just to frame it here is to get into that. So this episode, essentially the premise is Agatha wants answers for how Wanda can do the massive hex that she is doing now. Therefore, because again, Agatha essentially absorbs magic like we saw in said flashback. Presumably wants to absorb Wanda's magic, but first wants to know what she's getting into. So she basically we kind of do an Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind thing to kind of do reruns in actual life, which again is really clever with the whole TV thing. So we again clever payoff to the whole build of like why sitcoms.
And it's a pastime of hers with her family. That was the whole genesis.
And you know what's even better about that genesis too? It's the fact that they kind of filled this meta thing within all the movies. Well, no, meta is probably not the right word. The whole the running criticism of the Scarlet Witch, like the one thing people have kind of taken a dig at Elizabeth Olsen for, even Agatha calls out hilariously in this episode, like, man, that accent really comes and goes, doesn't it? So we kind of call out the accent, but we gave it glorious purpose in this episode. We reveal, like, hey, the accent is, so you watch these sitcoms to kind of learn American. Basically, master the American accent through sitcoms, in a sense. The whole family would kind of do the American accents when they're watching sitcoms. And my theory, based on that, is that when things are going great for Wanda, the accent goes away, which is pretty much the case in the Marvel movies. Like when Thanos comes back, you took away everything. The accent comes back when really bad things happen. Well, again, when she's in a stressful state or a villainous state, the accent comes back, and I think it's kind of the flashback kind of confirms this.
But I think that makes sense anyways. I mean, if you're feeling stressed, say for giggles, you already have an accent. If you're feeling stressed about something, then you're obviously going to go back to your comfortable state or your most comfortable state. And her at her most comfortable was with her brother, and it was with her accent. So I think it makes sense.
By the way, I love that we're celebrating DVD box sets because it's just been for so long. We see everyone again on the streaming show. We highlight the value of the DVD box sets with all the I'm shocked they cleared all these sitcoms. I'm so happy they did it. They could actually say them in the show, like I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke, the Brady Bunch, Malcolm in the Middle, Bewitched. All we have to see it by name. See, like this is like product placement of the highest order. It's like, well, it's right there. That's what you should get. And
it's also a good way to pay homage to their inspirations too.
Absolutely, because of course, Paul Bettany very much studied, Dick Van Dyke for the, for how he portrayed Vision towards the beginning, and so on. Let's see. It's a kind of a retroactive solution that worked wonders. So a big thing in this episode people are really going on about is the big retconning element. So basically, it's not so much. I don't think it's. I mean, we've added a really big spoke to the wheel that wasn't there with the whole childhood thing. So we reveal that. We see the famed story from Ultron of the Stark missile coming in. Like we waited 2 days for Tony Stark to kill us, with the missile in the room. That was basically like his question if it's going to go off or not. And this to me was genius. They cleverly worked in the root of her mutant power from the comics, which now and they're not necessarily saying that she's a mutant per se because we're doubling down the magic of it all. They're not necessarily saying there's no mutation at all there. They kind of found a way to have their cake and eat it too. Like she has probability powers in the comics, where basically she can influence probability, which makes her kind of the Nexus being and all that. But the fact that it makes sense. Like, yeah, how miraculous is it that the bomb didn't go off? Like for 2 days, and it's Tony Stark. He builds a mean missile. He learned that the hard way, all the way back in Iron Man. He builds a mean missile. It works. That spreads a lot of shrapnel. How do these kids survive? Well, probability. She kind of influenced it, so they survived. I thought it was a genius little in for that.
And I wonder if that also implies that Pietro also had abilities at that time too, or like at least dormant within him.
That's what I'm saying. That's what says the mutant thing might not completely be off the table as well. So if anyone's like saying, "Oh, there's no room for mutants," well, they haven't taken a stance on it. But again, there might be that Pietro got powers too.
And now that there's no issues with Fox.
Of course, because then again, they kind of had their cake and eat it too with the later scene we get, where we see the Mind Stone basically, as we already kind of knew, but the Mind Stone unlocked the potential, which was in that little probability thing, massively kind of opened it up and kind of made her full on, kind of the Nexus being that she would become.
And that weird vision that weird moment that was coming at her in that vision.
I love that vision because it teases it teases this little silhouette of Scarlet Witch, and my favorite part of Scarlet Witch, the headpiece, man, the little crown. You got this glimpse of the little crown. Awesome. It's like, yes, we're getting close there. We saw the Halloween. We saw the actual version there. And, oh god, I want to see it realized in this next episode. Do it. Oh, it's gonna be fun. Let's see. So we saw Hydra. More importantly, I love that we got this beautifully intimate scene. There's a lot of Tom King vision in this episode, man. Such as the scene after Ultron, where basically these two characters, they're very much linked at the hip, given the Mind Stone connection that they have, and they're both kind of tied into the Ultron event. So in the aftermath, it makes sense that these two would be close together, and you get to see truly the beginnings of the relationship here when Vision comforts Wanda. How did you feel about that scene, Gabby?
About what? When she was sitting on the bed?
Yeah, on the bed, yeah.
I don't know. I thought in a way it was sweet. There was a sweetness to it, but it was also just super freaking depressing, because it's kind of like, here is this robot, dangerous machine-ass man, and she's putting all of her time and investment and love into him, and I don't know, that was actually, it was sweet, but it was also just depressing, because I know he's technically dead, and just watching her fall apart, I don't know, all of it put together, I was like, damn, this sucks.
Yes, we had a really good comment earlier. I'm hoping I can. Oh yeah, here we go. Donovan, way early on, he had this great pull from that scene where he said, "What is Vision said in the scene? What is grief but love persevering?"
I love that line.
Exactly, and that's it is. It's great. Vision always had some of the best dialogue in the MCU, by the way. Because again, one of the great lines that he's had, and I think I mentioned this last episode, was the whole. Ultron, his last scene with Ultron, where Ultra's, you're unbearably naive and all that sort of stuff, and they're doomed, right? And Vision says, "A thing isn't." Sorry, I'm trying.
A thing isn't beautiful because it ends.
Yeah, a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. That's it. A thing isn't beautiful because it lasts, which basically says like because if something lasts forever, there's nothing special about it. If it only kind of lives for like a finite time, makes it kind of rare and beautiful and all that, but not in so many words. It's wonderful. So yeah, given Bettany these lines, man, especially these intimate ones. Of course, like he just phases through the door, a little kind of Civil War gag. Like Vision's not big on doors at all.
Well, I think he's actually one of the best characters in the MCU universe anyways, in general. Yeah. I think he does an excellent job, and he does have some of the best lines. So I think even with this show, one of the reasons why I actually stuck with it was because of him. And I was like, okay, we'll see where this goes. We'll see where this takes off. And it was solely because of him. And I mean, some of my favorite parts were when him and Kat Dennings were in Wanda's, made up make-believe circus area, and I mean that was just some of the best parts, especially.
Yeah, that funnel of love truck scene was really nice.
That was actually one of my favorite parts, and how they kept getting stuck in traffic, and he was just done, so he just flew up and left. She's like, okay, I'll meet you there.
When I was watching that, I was like, wait, can't Vision fly?
Yep, I love that he just kind of forgot about it in the interview.
He was just sitting there. I'm like, okay, dude, all right, go. And he finally did, but then I'm like, okay, what about Kat?
She's like, I'll meet you there then.
Yeah, she's like, all right, meet you there. But I absolutely love him. He's one of the reasons why I stuck through. And like I said earlier, this is one of the first MCU things I've actually been able to get into and appreciate, and it's mostly because of him.
Luke talks about movies, says it's almost like, in regards to the Scarlet Witch kind of vision, it's almost like the Phoenix Force, from the Dark Phoenix and so on. It's almost like the Phoenix Force being is a separate being, almost like Scarlet Witch is a different mind than Wanda. Yeah, I mean, Scarlet Witch, the way they perceive it is that Scarlet Witch is her destiny. And essentially, Again, I think it was more kind of like a view of the future, but then again, it's like looking really dormant in her mind. So maybe it's like seeing her best potential self, or at least her most destructive, most potential filled self. Or if I'm to interpret it, it could be again the probability that she will end up being this. Again, like seeing multiple probabilities and such, which again is kind of the Scarlet Witch's kind of shtick. I mean, at least again, kind of the more mutiny kind of side of things. I mean, it's kind of again kind of a nice kind of cross. Again, hence the namesake, kind of a nexus point of those two possibilities, or becoming said nexus being. So that's it's really cool. Again, basically, it seems like I don't believe once we eventually do the X and we're going to do a rehash of the Dark Phoenix story after what we're doing here. I don't think we're going to try that again. I think this is going to be kind of a happy medium, which I think we're all satisfied by right now.
Well, I mean, Fox tried twice, and only the first one was mildly successful.
And there is no excuse why that second one should have fell through after what they learned on the first one. There's no excuse for that. But I digress. So we spoke of like Vision being an awesome character. Let's talk about a not so awesome character doing shady stuff. Let's talk about the sword stuff.
Okay.
In the words of Jacob. Okay.
Glad to contribute.
Yeah.
Well, yes, White Vision.
Yeah. So White Vision. So this was to me. Here's the thing. I half knew what this was. I knew they referenced the White Vision stuff from the comics and the Tom King Vision books. Basically, it's like kind of isolated memories that the Vision has from comics history in like one of the issues. So basically, you see randomly like, why is Vision all white? And I never knew why. It was just kind of an element of the story. And basically, it was the moment in the story where you had White Vision telling Wanda that like things aren't real. Essentially, that was kind of in the comic. That's what it was. And it was just basically he was just very directly kind of pointing out like these are all fake constructs. No, the family and everything you want right now. You're this is all a constructed reality, and not even the original Vision essentially. So that the whole White Vision idea that whole story is a reference to this thing called Vision Quest, where essentially Vision comes back. It seems pretty accurate to what we have here, with the exception of like sword building him necessarily. It's that Vision, the all-white version of Vision that we're setting up here. He's like a factory settings Vision, and you took out all the humanity. He's basically closer to what Ultron's original design of him was.
Without Jarvis.
Exactly, because I mean, to be fair, Ultron, he wasn't going to like tamper with Vision like having a personality, because Ultron has a personality, but he was going to be more less like favorable towards humanity, which is kind of what we have here. This guy's like all. Again, it's like the Jarvis taken out. He's like all the personality taken out. He's just these emotionless, which should be really scary going forward, I imagine. It's just like a cold logic version of Vision. And I love that yet again, through all these episodes, we found a way to kind of live up to our namesake, WandaVision, which we could start in the most lovey-dovey of senses at the beginning. And towards the end, implication, this White Vision it's not going to be a happy reunion. It's going to be maybe a battle of the Visions for all we know, because we still got the Vision that's flying from that truck right now. And that's going to be really interesting, kind of seeing the Visions kind of go at each other. By the way, is again like the fake one that they all fell in love with. But again, the potential for an actual revival, if potentially we can meld these guys together. I don't know.
Like, what if the Hex combines them?
That would be great. And again, if we do that, we revive Vision. Yay, victory! But this has been a really tragic show up to this point, so I don't know if that's going to happen.
That is so true. Oh my gosh. I mean, well, okay. So the first few episodes were not necessarily tragic. They were a little bit off. It was a little bit confusing, but not tragic. But since then, yes, I agree. It's been freaking tragic as all get out. I'm like, why? What is this? Why are you doing this?
This show hits so many different notes.
Donovan has an excellent theory I did not consider. So we've heard that James Spader has been cast for this, that he was like officially cast for the show. So I was really excited about that, and the fact that he will pop up. And of course, he didn't pop up in this episode. I was convinced when we were going through the flashbacks we were going to get like a little Ultron moment or something. I was convinced. We didn't get that because we did pre-Ultron. We didn't do actual Ultron. We saw the aftermath. Never like before and after. Never the thing. But Donovan brings up an excellent theory here that perhaps what if the White Vision? Because again, there's a lot of Ultron in there still in the creation of Vision. What if James Spader did the voice of the White Vision in lieu of Paul Bettany? Imagine how scary that would be. But it's...
I don't know how to feel about that.
Be interesting. I never thought about that. So I mean, Donovan, that's an excellent theory, man. I could see it. I mean, it makes sense, but I mean, I don't know because again, to make it even more haunting if like Paul Bettany was all villainous towards Wanda, that make it even scarier. So I mean, either or, interesting stuff. Question: how the heck are they going to work in Ultron? Is the question? Because I'm convinced at some point, again, maybe the White Vision is their way of doing it. If James Spader is doing the voice, is that Vision has to confront Ultron. Ultron's what brought these two crazy kids together. The Mind Stone as well as Ultron kind of like making these events happen. So Ultron is kind of key within them kind of combating, kind of going through the ultimate trial, as it were. So I think Ultron in some way, shape, or form should be represented, which sounds like we might be doing that. So let's see. But anyway, so getting there, so Hayward was like the really unlikable guy I was referring to. So, Hayward's such a prick, man. I love that if you look at it, we've seen. I just love we reframed this yet again. Wanda was so reasonable going to find Vision, like she didn't burst through the thing and do all this, like she just like steal the body. No, it was a heartbreaking scene where like she was reasonable as all get out. She was the loved one who was just like, hey, you don't own him. You don't own them. It's like, hey, just say your goodbyes. We're not letting you bury $3 billion worth of vibranium.
That was messed up.
What a prick. That Hayward's such a prick.
I mean, I had my doubts. Like, 5 years can change a person, but now, I mean, like I had my doubts before, but yeah.
I think he's just always been a dick. I think that's the idea.
100% Donovan. Lying POS, absolutely. He basically made out Wanda to be the villain in every sense of the word there, where again, like, yeah, she broke the glass, but again, he was like stopping her from going down there for a second. And again, he's trying to con her. He wants her to bring him back to life, which again is against his wishes and also kind of asking too much of Wanda. So he's the one who started this whole mess in a sense. He's the one who gave her the little idea of bringing Vision back subconsciously, man.
Well, yeah, I think that was the whole point.
Yeah.
I just hope he doesn't like trying to be like a generic like ha 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 bad guy kind of thing.
I highly doubt that. I think they're gonna make him the same way that they make other multi-million-dollar villains. They're not gonna make him Agatha. I'm pretty sure it'll just be the multi-million-dollar jackass is pretty much what it is.
Sure. I mean, again, like he's kind of hiding behind the whole sentient weapon thing, which again will get really interesting if we ever do get the X-Men in this world too. Because again, the Sword has roots in the X-Men. I think the X-Men's done a lot with Sword, and the whole sentient weapon thing makes sense with all that. But
there's a connection of their creators too.
True. Yes, it's true. But it was really. It was haunting her saying goodbye to the dismembered Vision. Just seeing Vision's head on that table, man. That's it.
And then like a place to grow old in. It's like, oof.
Oh my God, Luke talks about movies. It's kind of breaking my mind here. Oh my goodness. I don't necessarily think it's going to end up being this, but this would be interesting though. This is maybe Hayward has a loved one trapped in the hex, perhaps his brother, Wonder Man, as in that would make Hayward the Grim Reaper character, who basically he causes a lot of trouble in that Tom King Vision book. So that is interesting. That's a fascinating idea. I mean, I don't think they're going that route, man. But I mean, if they do it, I'll give you all the brownie points. It sounds cool, but I don't think that lines up logic wise.
And so we find, and thus that gives us like why the hex came into being. Wanda's extreme grief.
Yes, so the big chaos magic moment. I love when we go to Westview and we see Westview just as it was, because we spent so much time there in kind of the very generation hopping paradise that it is.
Well, not only generational, but television generational. So it wasn't even like normal. It was all very oddly fake.
We saw it through an idyllic lens.
Very nostalgic, yes. And I just love just seeing kind of the day-to-day life after having spent all that time there. And then the thing that I think broke all of our hearts, the fact that Vision in his will and testament, one of the things he left to personal effects to Wanda was this map, but basically the deed to their house. He bought him a house for them to go all together.
Was just depressing. That was so miserable to watch.
To grow old in V.
I'm like, no!
And it's a little heart, too. A little heart that tracked. Because
it was
remember,
the heart.
all the way back in that first episode, you had the little heart thing on the calendar. It's done exactly like that.
Oh my gosh. It was the freaking. She just opened the map with the little red heart. I'm like, okay, that's it. I gotta shut this off. This is depressing.
So then,
It's too
again,
much.
this giant burst of chaos magic creates the house that she dreamed of. It basically chaos bringing order in her kind of chaotic world, which is just, my God, that was this big. It was an awesome payoff.
And thus gave birth to the Hex.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see.
And the question is, though, was Agatha already there, or did she move to the Hex?
Yeah, so
That's what
the implication I got from all this that seems to be confirmed in this episode is that Agatha, we all assumed like Agatha, I mean the big theory I had for a while was that Agatha like basically gave her like the kind of the key to making this hex happen, like probably told her the spell or something, and then has just kind of been waiting for her to remember or something. That's kind of the implication I got. But according to this, she just basically she kind of she stumbled upon this giant hex that's going on and wants to know how it's done. Like she just wandered into this thing. Hence the whole Agatha all along. Yeah, I just kind of literally flew into the episodes because I want to know what's going on here. So she didn't create all this. And we see Wanda is absolutely behind all this. That's what we confirmed this episode. I mean, Agatha all along, sure, killing Sparky and everything, but no, Wanda's doing, and Agatha wants in.
Ugh.
Which, by the way, so the big cliffhanger we have, so Wanda is going up against Agatha to save her kids, and White Vision's being sent in by Sword. This is going to be a big old mess that's going to happen in this finale. Probably going to have, if not Vision versus Vision, it's ultimately going to be Wanda versus Vision, which I'm sure is going to be heartbreaking.
Oh my gosh. Ugh, this freaking episode.
And all because of Hayward's idiocy and all this, by the way, and his insensitivity in the matter. Like, they couldn't just let him bury the vibranium or melt it down or repurpose it. No!
Well, no, like you said, I think he wanted to rebuild him, and so obviously giving her the idea to do so, or bringing him back to life. I mean, they were tracking him the whole time. They weren't tracking Wanda. They were tracking him.
Exactly. And it's the fact that he could, like he said, oh, we got to honor Vision's wishes. You effing liar.
Well, and he's also using powers from the Hex to make this new White Vision, too.
Yep. That's the key. Again, the whole Mind Stone energy, essentially. Or, I mean, a little beyond that. But yes, basically, the reanimating, kind of like we reanimated Vision in the Hex from memory.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you, here's my prediction for the finale. I guess if you guys have predictions, we'll get those in there and we'll check the comments. And I think, unless there's anything I'm forgetting. I think ultimately what's going to happen here is the saddest way this thing ends is she has to kill Vision again. Probably the white version of it. She's probably going to have to kill him.
That would technically be 3 times she's watched.
I know,
die.
That's what I'm saying. That's good. It's the rule of 3. It's going to be the number that breaks her. So she kills Vision for a third time, or watches him die for a third time by her own hand, 2 out of the 3. Which is going to, I think that in that action is going to, in the battle itself, basically the Hex will be lifted, which is going to like destroy the fake town, and in doing so, the thing that's going to break her outside, like having to lose Vision again by her own hand, and the Hex being lifted, the kids are going to die. Kids are going to go.
Oh my gosh! All right, so her children died. Her robot husband dies again. Everything that she loves is just gone. Oh my god.
And then you're gonna have like a mass of chaos magic is gonna radiate from her, like we saw in that house scene, to go global. And we're gonna have a magical.
If it would kill her in herself. I mean, I know that they wouldn't necessarily do that because I'm assuming they would need her for other things.
Yeah, they definitely need her for other things.
Well, I mean, we know she's not gonna die because she's in Doctor Strange.
Correct, right. But I'm just saying that if they weren't going to use her in Doctor Strange, they seem to show that she is so powerful. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she just imploded.
And I think ultimately it's going to be this massive chaos energy. It's going to be the House of M event, and then maybe perhaps the positive way this goes is maybe Monica helps save the day to an extent, but the damage has been done, which is going to lead into Doctor Strange. So I think Monica might be able to save the day, maybe save the kids. I mean, it'd be going up against what everyone's expecting, but
although this is basically just explaining why Monica will have abilities in Captain Marvel 2, though.
But what's the point of saving the children? Like, what exactly does not Captain Marvel? Good lord. What is the point of having them in Doctor Strange? What is the point of her having these children? I mean, she created these children just to kind of cope with the loss in her life, so it only makes sense that they basically go down with the ship.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're all expecting Wanda to be, the full-on villain, which would, basically is kind of what House M's kind of built on, and more importantly, seemingly Doctor Strange 2 might have Scarlet Witch as the big villain that he's going to have to kind of deal with.
Right.
Now, however, if they don't do the villain thing, there is a chance they could subvert the villain thing. They've been teeing up the villain thing. We're all playing into it. They pull the rug out from under us, and she's just working with Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange 2, the kids could be there. I don't think that's going to happen, but that is a possibility.
I don't think it is either.
Well, we'll have to see because, they don't really have very good fates in the comics.
I know that's true. I mean, sometimes there are older versions of them, though. That's why I'm curious. But we teased that up in Halloween, though. So we don't.
They called them Devil Spawn.
True. Yes, call them Devil Spawn. Very much, though. Again, definitely, if we have Mephisto, those kids are goners. We know that. If they reveal a Mephisto, those kids are absolutely goners. I know that much.
Yeah.
I don't see a benefit of them keeping them in for the upcoming movie. There just doesn't seem to be a point. I mean,
I think you're right, but
Well, I think even if she's not the villain, though, even if she is just working side by side, how the hell is she supposed to take care of children in the process, or keep track of them, or I don't know. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't seem like it would be connected, if that makes any sense.
Unless she decides to retire,
which I highly doubt.
I think she's definitely going to be busy any way you slice it.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, why that she decides to doesn't necessarily mean call to adventure and all that.
All right, let's see. We got some comments here. Okay. Donovan says some of his hopes are that Ultron will show up, Vision dies, a certain aerospace engineer, and Spider-Man arrive. Basically, maybe Mr. Fantastic and Spider-Man. Maybe people are because here's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've heard a little bit of this. The next Spider-Man, which we now have a name for, by the way, No Way Home.
Nice.
People are speculating that's going to be a multiverse story, and of course, Doctor Strange happening next year might be a bridge to get into Doctor Strange, like the whole multiverse of madness thing. Spider-Man kind of in the thick of that. And Doctor Strange he's going to be in it. We know he's going to be in it. We don't know how big a role, but we know he's going to be in it.
Right.
He's going to be in Spider-Man.
Therefore, people are connecting the WandaVision dots with all that. So that's why Spider-Man's probably kind of expected to be the big. They're teasing up a big Luke Skywalker, big celebrity cameo for this final episode. And of course, I think the easy answer is Doctor Strange because it'd be a really easy lead-in, like he shows up. Again, some people are speculating Mr. Fantastic. Again, there's apparently some Spider-Man action going on there. So it's a question of who the big kind of mind-bending cameos going to be.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find out. The series has kept us on our toes.
And again, the kids are sold. Again, historically, the kids are the soul. Their souls are the shards of Mephisto, which again intimates definitely if the kids go away, maybe Mephisto comes into play. So certainly, if they die, also Mephisto might get the green light to show. And of course, with the Mephisto of it all, which again we have yet to have, but if Mephisto shows up, people are expecting maybe Ghost Rider because Mephisto is arch nemesis. Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they did good with him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but technically, since that's not canon to the MCU, I'd love to see the MCU's take on Ghost Rider.
Well, either way, it was a different Ghost Rider, so even if it is, assumedly, so far they have not said there's nothing that proves that none of that stuff could have happened and couldn't have happened in the same universe. Because essentially, Coulson's in it. It's kind of hard to disprove that. But all that says, the point is like that was like a Robbie Ray, the Ghost Rider with the car. This is not the Ghost Rider on the bike, which I think is what they could do. And just, that's absolutely they could show up like full on like that. Yeah, the original the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider, the crazy Nick Cage Ghost Rider, but played by a different guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was honestly a guilty pleasure movie of mine growing up.
Sure.
Was it?
I mean, yes, I know it's not that great, but it was one of those guilty pleasure movies. But I would honestly love to see Ghost Rider in this, or at least brought back to the MCU proper.
Let's see. Again, just a lot of he stabbed me in my heart during this, during some of these sad scenes. Like it's just so. Yeah. But by the way, the whole Nexus being thing. This is another thing we should tee up just one final time, I guess. The Loki show. We are getting the Loki show after Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And Loki is dealing with time travel and all sorts of stuff, and he works for the TVA. Now, TVA,
Time Variance Agency.
Time variance agency, absolutely. These guys, they monitor one of the big things, like kind of their FBI's most wanted, if you will. Like the big thing they monitor, like the big thing that kind of throws their job in the chaos, is a nexus being, which again, the people who can influence probability, ergo influence the future. Which again, Wanda going crazy is going to impact the Loki show. My theory is that Doctor Strange 2 might have kind of a team up of sorts, where you're going to have.
And the writer for Loki is writing the Doctor Strange movie.
I keep forgetting about that. That's awesome. There's some credence there for you. I'm convinced Doctor Strange 2, what it could be is Wanda's the bad guy. You have Doctor Strange trying to reach her alongside the uneasy alliance of Loki and Mordo.
I mean, it does say friend turned enemy, but it doesn't say who the friend turned enemy is.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. It's amazing. It's still amazing that they find a way to still bring Loki back into all this. Like people like my mom, for example, is like really looking forward to Loki, because he's a big fan. Like, and people like joking that the only reasons Loki survived is because of his fangirls.
I mean, I would agree with that. My sister had a huge poster of him on our ceiling, and going to bed every night was terrifying. So I think I would agree with that. There's some crazy fangirls.
I mean, to each their own, right?
Certainly. But I mean, anything else you guys want to speculate on or just kind of say about the episode?
Well, I think considering we're now speculating about Loki, I think we pretty much set our course for this.
Yeah. I agree.
Good point. Okay. Solaris Knight in the comments too, which basically in regards to Loki, which is talking about the Walt Simonson thing. It's a good point.
Walt Simonson, one of the greatest Thor writers of all time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's like the Thor writer. I mean, come on. I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of people love the Jason Aaron run too. Jason Aaron's pretty good too, but Walt Simonson historic. I mean, undeniably. All right. Okay. I think that's it's going to do it for us. I mean, overall, I think we're all very much feeling the episode. We're excited for the finale. It's going to be really interesting.
It's going to be heart-wrenching. Are you kidding me? We're going to be just sad the whole freaking time.
I know. I'm going to be so heartbroken. I just want to see these two crazy kids just get a happy ending, but I know it's not going to happen.
No, they're not, and that's the thing. That's the most.
America's going to cry more in the ending of Mando when they see like Wanda losing her kids and being alone yet again.
Well, we've seen Marvel pull off several heart-wrenching endings before, especially in here. So,
of course.
I mean, look at Infinity War and Endgame. I mean, they have the chops to pull it off.
Oh yeah. All right. Okay, well, I think that's going to be
which also features the death of Vision.
The multiple deaths of Vision.
Multiple.
Yes.
How many times can we just rip out America's heart, like Wanda ripped out Ultron's heart? Let's just see him. Let's just plug it there.
Well, Ultron deserved it though.
He did. But I'm just saying, taking out.
And Vision technically did kill Ultron.
Well, that's the thing. That's my other theory, though. We'll see in this last episode. I've always theorized that Vision did not kill Ultron.
Now we'll find out.
We will. I mean, probably did, but yeah, we'll find out.
He'd be a cool villain to revisit, honestly.
Yeah, we want to thank all of our dear commenters for showing up. Donovan, Solaris Knight, Luke Talks About Movies, Claude Coringa, Claude!
We've had a record number of comments this time, too.
And we did, and of course, Honeybee. All right.
All right. I think it's time to sign out.
That it is.
All right.
Jacob, how many times are you going to say all right?
It's a verbal tick.
Oh,
like McConaughey.
You mean McConaughey?
Yeah, all right.
Matthew McConaughey, yeah.
Hey.
No.
That was the Fonz.
Hey guys, you done?
Yeah.
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 Okay. I'll sign out right now. All right. See you guys.